is unfortunate, I think, for the way that they're looking at the moment. Although maybe I shouldn't say too much given who they've got coming up.
Well, we teased it before, but Castleford Tigers have signed Huddersfield Giants back rower Kenny Edwards on a 1-year loan deal for the 2022 Super League season. The 32-year-old scored 3 tries in 12 games this term before a 10-match ban for inappropriate contact with the backside of Catalans' Sam Cassiano. Edwards, who has played for Catalans and Parramatta, will form part of New Boss Lee Radford's squad at the Tigers. They have the moral vacuum. It's locked in on that left edge then, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to read that sentence out about the inappropriate contact. But yeah, lucky us. We get another season of Kenny and his magic finger.
There you go. Let's roll through these ones. We don't need to dwell too much. Kenny Edwards has had enough talk from us over the last 4 years.
Ireland international Lewis Beanick will leave Castleford at the end of the season. The club has announced a 23-year-old prop has made 6 appearances for the Tigers since arriving at the club from Hull ahead of this season.
Yeah, it's like a barely needed to announcement that, because did they ever pick him? Salford Red Devils back rower James Greenwood has signed a 2-year contract extension with the option of a 3rd season at the AJ Bell. Well, he won't be at the AJ Bell Stadium for that long, will he? They won't be. The 30-year-old has scored 1 try in 17 games for Red Devils this season, having moved from Hull KR for the 2020 season. 30 years old. There's one that makes me feel old. I remember him being a kid coming through at Wigan. Well, I remember a lot of people being kids coming through at Wigan, but I would never have said 30 years old.
No. Time flies.
That's all I've got to say about James Greenwood.
Okay. So another Salford-related one. The Red Devils have signed versatile back Ryan Braley from the Centurions on a 2-year deal starting from the 2022 Super League season. The Scotland international 29 scored 10 tries in 18 games for Lee in 2021 and kicked 28 goals despite an eye injury threatening to end his season. Good signing.
They've got a lot of mix and match utility players in that squad now, haven't they? You know, Escaray,
he'll feel at home then after his year at League.
Yeah, Sargentson. There's a lot of players who they can. I'm not sure that will all get to play in the position that they want to play in. Are you convinced he's a Super League player? Have we seen enough to say that he is, or do we think he'd probably be better off finding a job back in the Championship to be happy?
He's probably a lower Super League player at best, which is probably where Salford are going to be next season, isn't it? So the crossover seemingly between some of those bottom end players and the top end of the Championship, I think that's quite a blurred line at the moment. So he's in that group of players for me. I mean, his scoring record is fantastic. If you look at it, he's knocking on for 200 tries. I don't think he's quite broke that yet, but he's there or thereabouts and in about 220, 230 games, I think. So certainly at the level he's been playing at, he's got a fantastic record there. But yeah, I don't think he's going to average nearly a try a game while he's at Salford, to be fair.
No. Here's a story you might be more interested in. Warrington Livewire Matty Ashton has signed a new 3-year contract extension with the club. The 23-year-old fullback or winger has impressed since arriving from Championship side Swinton ahead of last season, scoring 15 tries in 21 appearances for the Wolves so far. I think that's now 18 in 22.
I think it's not, actually. I think that is. I obviously checked that one.
Oh, is that right?
No, I think that is after the Cas game. Yeah, I think this is great news. I mean, here is a guy that can average a try a game in Super League, I think. He looks a constant threat. He was brilliant at the weekend and has been in a number of games, I think, for us. There was various chat over the weekend about him and signing and things and reference to his speed, but he's one of those players who I think he uses his speed in the right way. It gets him into the right positions, and he's always there when those breaks are happening. You see him when he's played on the wing and he's back in the break up in the middle. And he's got that uncanny ability to kind of read the play and read the breaks as they're happening, and that's why he scores as many as he does. I think it's a great signing for us, this one.
Yeah, I suppose in that way, the sort of way he'll floating off the wing if there's an opportunity to poach a try is kind of reminiscent of maybe wingers of old, like an Afire or someone like that, with coming and supporting down the middle when your job's on the wing is a. And also, like what you're saying there, like sniffing out an opportunity. I think was it his second try against Castleford, the one where the ball, because Warrington are great at fucking miss hitting kicks and scoring tries off him this year, where the ball didn't reach the fullback, bounced up, and he was there way quicker than anyone else to get it. That's exactly what you're talking about there. Not many players in Super League would have been there getting on that chance and scoring it, obviously.
No, exactly. I mean, we're miss-kicking kicks that often. It makes you think it's maybe not a miss-kick.
Yeah, you believe that, yeah. St Helens duo Matty Foster and Sam Royal have signed new one-year deals with the club for 2022. Foster became part of the club's first team back in 2020 and made his debut off the bench against Salford, and this season has impressed on loan at Lee. Back rower Royal has been a member of the first team squad this year and, well, it says here will be hoping to make his first team debut, but did make his debut in the game against Salford. So someone else who made the debut against Salford for St Helens this week. So, yeah.
Yeah, nothing more to add from me on that one. I'm
not yet, anyway. Plenty of time in front of them, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think, they're adding to the squad, aren't they, by keeping these kind of guys on, and they're obviously on the fringes, given that they got a rout at the weekend. So we might well see more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Ireland international Joe Keys will leave OKR at the end of the season. The club have confirmed the 25-year-old has struggled for game time at the Robins this season. Keys has made more than 100 career appearances for London Broncos, Bradford and Hull KR. He won 8 caps for Ireland.
Nathan Peets, Nathaniel Petteru and Ollie Ashwell Battle set to leave Huddersfield at the end of the season. Huddersfield coach Ian Watson has confirmed that they're all set to play the last games at the weekend. In that game against relegated Lee, where Peets and Petteru were on loan from, actually, because they love a loan, don't they? I think there's more. I think there's more to be written in this story. I don't necessarily think it's as definitive as the sort of news seems about these guys. I think if they can find space, they might try and keep one, maybe two of those in their squad. I think it's maybe more about the overseas quota and figuring that out and seeing how they can keep, because I'd be shocked if they didn't try and keep Pete's around, really. It's been a real I think positive for them since going there. Way better than he was at Lee.
Yeah. I think they'd be looking to keep him. I think they'd be daft to not look to keep him. The wording is interesting on this without reading too much sometimes into the language used, but apparently they're set to leave Huddersfield as opposed to the definitives will leaves that you see in some of the other releases.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think there's enough wriggle room in what they've said there to give some hope maybe for Huddersfield fans who might want to see him stick around.
It might be a negotiating thing salary-wise as well. Maybe if they're tight up against the cap, but if these guys maybe want to take a little bit less money, maybe.
Yeah, maybe what they could get elsewhere if they don't fancy moving over to Toulouse. Maybe Featherstone might be a more appealing prospect, but if they didn't want to relocate, well, I don't know that Featherstone would ever be a more appealing prospect, but in the south of France, but maybe for family reasons, I don't know. If not, Petteru's last action would be a nice one if you saw his sin binning at the end of the game against Lee. That was a nice way to sign off. Petulance
personified, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is a weird story.
Yeah.
It's the sort of story where normally I wouldn't even entertain it, but it just seems so weird. So Salford have announced a partnership with Queensland outfit Ipswich Jets, which will see players switch between the two clubs. The Red Devils say the link-up will enable the clubs to share best practice and knowledge, which will aid coach and player development, both on and off the field. Salford Director of Rugby and Operations Ian Blee said, this partnership will give the Red Devils added elements to our newly designed player pathway and will give our young players a chance to experience rugby league in Australia whilst also being looked after by an extremely forward-thinking and player-caring club. From my part, this is another exciting partnership that we are building at Salford Red Devils with more to come in the future. Now, the Blees statement reads more that it's one way, and Salford are going to benefit from basically sending kids over to Queensland to get a rugby league education that they don't really have to pay for, in a way. I don't quite understand it, because the Ipswich Jets are a Queensland Cup side. It's not an NRL side that they're linking up with. So how much can they exchange?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these kind of tie-ups in the past. I know Warrington had one with Souths for a period, I think. And Salford, maybe Salford out of partnerships, but Huddersfield out of loan agreements. They've partnered with Wales, haven't they, I think, recently?
Yeah, and that's bearing fruit now, and it's brought through. They recently announced a signing of like 5 or so kids, didn't they? 3 or 4 or 5 kids, and maybe those kids are now going to be getting on a plane to Australia. Well, if they let them in, to further their education. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I suppose it's looking for other ways to develop players if you've not necessarily got the resources and facilities yourself to.
Yeah, I mean, he references in what he says there, Blees, about forward-thinking and player-caring club. I guess some of those clubs who maybe don't have the resources that the clubs at the top end of the league have got to look for ways to differentiate themselves. And how do you try and attract young players who might ordinarily just sign for the same old clubs that they always sign for? Maybe they're looking at different options. And I don't know, you don't hear the word often mentioned in rugby league, but maybe there's a strategy at play here, and they've actually got a plan, and they're trying to do something different. So let's see. Hopefully it's not just a way to kind of make the player drain towards even more easy for players to get over there.
Yeah, no, I suppose it's. We talked about Tyrone McCarthy. He benefited from playing in the lower grades in Australia, didn't he? It certainly improved his character and stuff. Loads of other players as well. You know, Jamie Peacock's another example, and so many who've done that over the years. I suppose. Yeah, you're right, because it's not like Salford can get a player in and go and show him the stadium like you can at Headingley or something, or go and show him the training facilities like you can at Wigan or what have you, or, you know, take him to a pop concert like you can at Warrington, or all these other things that are sort of things around the other club that they can sell to players and their agents. I guess Salford are, like you say, coming up with a new strategy. You've got to commend them for that, and hopefully they'll be the ones benefiting from this rather than Australian rugby league feeder systems.
Yeah, hopefully so. Okay. Former Ireland captain Liam Finn has announced he will retire from rugby league at the end of the season. The 37-year-old halfback, currently playing in the Championship with Dewsbury, will hang up his boots at the season's end following a 19-year professional playing career. Finn has made more than 450 career appearances for Halifax, Wakefield, Featherstone, Castleford, Widnes, Newcastle and Dewsbury. He won 32 caps for Ireland on the international stage. Call that 31 full internationals, though.
Which was what was his non-official international?
I haven't checked. It'll either be when they played Wales with a load of excess players, or the England Knights again, I'm guessing.
It's quite a remarkable sort of career he's had, spanning 20 seasons, really. And I quite thought that he'd retired already, but clearly he hadn't. Someone who, will he be best remembered for his goal kicking record, or will he be best remembered for being part of that cast side that went to the Challenge Cup final, maybe? I'm not quite sure. The problem is he's never really laid down long enough roots at any one side to be a club legend at any one side, has he? So it's kind of a real journeyman that everyone will respect.
Yeah, I think he seems to get mentions in dispatches on Fev sites that I saw over the weekend. And has been mentioned in that goal-kicking Mason Leno list that's been doing the rounds about consecutive goal kicks. So, I think some career highlights for him to reflect back on after a long 450 appearances is some going at whatever level you're playing at. So, He's got a lot of memories, I'm sure, from all